Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Creating the Conversation podcast. Guys, I hope you guys are okay. I hope you guys are chilling. I hope you guys are having a good time. All right, under the circumstances with this whole damn lockdown going on, my bro. You know what I mean? It's been mad, it's been a bit crazy. But then guess what? We are all stuck in it together. That's what it is. And I think, this shared experience, even though it's a negative one, even though it's not too much of a nice one, but I think by having this shared experience, it does give us a bit of a perspective that, you know what, may that be bad or good, we're going to get through this. Yeah, my man. So, Ivan, big man, how are you today, man? What's going on? Tell me, how's life at your end? I was going to say sunny, such and such place, but I won't mention that. Go for it, my man. How are you doing today, mate?
It's been sunny, bruv. I think I'm going to be a bit honest this week. Well, I always say I'm good, yeah, but it's been a tough few days, if I'm honest. As you know, I moved in with my mum after my dad died of cancer.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, she was diagnosed with COPD. This week's been challenging because it's progressed, if you know.
Oh, God, okay.
So there's been times where mum saw onto my hand saying she got really bad anxiety about dying at the minute because of this risk of COVID and everything. So, and I'm not doing this for sympathy, but I've learned a lesson this week, what you learn. And I'm lucky because I've got people to turn to when I need help. But there's other people in that position that haven't got that chance or that opportunity. So I'm just kind of saying a big shout out to people like that and reach out for help if you need it. And the only reason I'm saying this is because I'm good at giving advice, but never taking advice. But that article I read the other day, so it hit her this week a bit. So it's a somber start, but it's not for sympathy. It's out of respect for other people in the same position that can't get the help and just carry on. Respect to them,
I mean? No, Ivan, God bless you for that.
So right, cheer things up again then.
No, we will do. But I think for a moment, I think this is important to have this somber moment of reflection. All right. No, it's important, my man. It's important because you are right. This is a shared experience. Naturally, it is a difficult time. And like you said about mum, thank God, we've got the vaccinations going on at the moment. Of course, it started with the 80 above. The Lord have mercy. You know what I mean? They're hanging on. You know what I mean? They're doing well. Of course, in Britain, we've gone up to the 70 above now, and hopefully 60s and above, and so on. So all the 9 vulnerable groups will be given the vaccination soon. Hopefully. And of course, all of us are in that position, my man. My prayers are with you, my words of sentiment with you, my brother, with your family, and with every single person that's watching at this moment in time. Guys, look, I'm a man of faith, yeah. I have belief in my Lord. So I'm going to call upon him. I'm going to say, come on, my Lord, help us on this one. Do you know what I mean? So as human beings, we stand together. That's what it is. And we're going to do this together. Guys, on this particular point of reflection, we have a banging, hopefully, session today. Opportunity to talk, to discuss, to create a conversation on this particular podcast. All right, now it's a new year, new things have happened, and some amazing things happened. Something went crazy, bro. That's what happened. I can't believe it. And I'm going to talk about it in a few moments. But before I do that, some of our guests today, we are damn lucky, bro. Damn lucky. Because we have not one, but we have double trouble. Bring it on. Double trouble. Do you know what I'm saying, Ivan, my man? All right.
From Detroit. Double trouble from Detroit.
Yeah. Isn't that a lyric somewhere? I know there's some sort of lyric going on there. Double trouble from Detroit. Double trouble from Detroit. Probably is. I don't know. I can't do the beat. In a few moments, guys, we are amazed and we are really, really happy to have, these 2 individuals. One of them, of course, today is a young lady, and this is something which is very, very unique in per se, because sometimes we don't get the perspective or the female perspective of those individuals who are part of extremist organizations. And I'm very, very grateful. I know, Ivan, big up to you as well by arranging this. This lady is Acacia Dietz. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Acacia, when you come on, just give me a thumbs up. I'll be nice of you. Thank you very much. So Acacia is before leaving the white nationalist movement, Acacia essentially ran the media arm of the largest neo-Nazi organization in America, guys. Today, she applies that skills to different organizations. Of course, she's part of an organization called Beyond Barriers, dismantling the barriers that imprison our minds. An amazing organization. When she comes on, and of course, the other gentleman who was our guest a number of months ago, I'm also going to introduce him in a few moments once I've got Acacia on. Acacia, of course, she has worked with other organizations as well, and she has this amazing skill and ability around media and etc. So she has also worked with another organization called Light Upon Light Parrot Network, an online portal that serves as a central hub where you will find an array of activity, all dedicated to combating polarization, hate, and extremism. And I know Beyond Barriers is doing something very, very similar. So guess what? Big up, big up, big up to Acacia Dietz. Come on. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Hey there. Thank you.
You been all right? You been good?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Thank you. Thank you.
Stuff. Welcome to Creating the Conversation podcast. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation today, and we are really, really, really grateful for your virtual presence.
Thank you. And I appreciate. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. In a few moments, we'll have a bit of a chat as well. Ivan, myself, of course. But before I do that, I'm going to call upon the gentleman that we met last October 30th, October 2020. Before we had this sudden change that has occurred in America. America after Trump. Say it again. America after Trump. Come on, my man. America after Trump. I don't know. Maybe that's going to scare us more. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, the man I'm talking about is no other than Jeff Schoep. Of course, when I introduced him last time today, just a quick introduction, guys. This is the former commander of the National Socialist Movement, the NSM. From 1994 until early 2019, he was the leader of the largest neo-Nazi organization in the United States. In early 2019, he retired from the NSM and walked away from the movement in its entirety. He is the founder of Beyond Barriers, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping people leave extremist organizations, as well as providing support and connections to individuals and communities affected by extremism. Of course, I've literally picked that up right from his and your website. So forgive me for that, but I've done it, mate. You know what I mean? No copyright issues there. So I'm calling on the big man, Jeff. How are you, mate? You okay?
Hey, thanks for having me again, and I want to send Ivan what you're going through in your family. We're here for you, brother. We're sending you strength and positive energy, brother.
Absolutely.
Too much.
He doesn't like that. He really gets a bit like this about it. You know what I mean? But then again, I think it's a very masculine thing, isn't it? That we don't usually like talking about our emotions and our feelings and what's going on inside. I know, and Ivan is a manly man, but then again, that's in all cultures. And in fact, one of the things that we've looked at, factors which are key factors why people go into and get into extremist organizations. One of them is around this thing about finding individuals and people that what are you doing? You're just being macho, being masculine, all right, getting out there, don't need to talk about my feelings to nobody, mate. Yeah. It is a difficult one, but I think, society is changing slowly but surely. We're getting in touch with our feminine side. Oh, my Lord, have mercy. Guys, thank you very, very much for coming in today.
Ain't that right, Jeff? Ain't that right, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. It's the movement and that we came out of it. All three of us had come out of. It's the hyper masculinity is a big thing there. So it's definitely, I definitely understand. What he's going through and all that. And It's difficult.
It is difficult, and I think that's something that we touch on per se, because when you look at extremist organization, we get that. But of course, we have a young lady here, all right, who has also been through that particular organization, and usually we don't get the perspective. So, Acacia,
Yeah.
tell me about your journey. Tell me about what happened with you. You know what I mean? When you got onto this particular organization, how the hell did you get into this? What's going on, mate?
Right, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people think of, the movement, the far right movement, as a male only movement, and would be very surprised to know that it's not just a male only movement. Obviously, there's a lot more women involved, but the women are typically more the behind the scenes type, I guess you could say, supporting the men and all of that. My journey started back in 2000, into 2016, beginning of 2017. I started paying a little bit more attention to what was going on in politics and stuff like that. But I didn't really start becoming actively involved with the movement and with the organization until probably end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And honestly, when I first became a part of it, it was because they didn't fly the swastika anymore. And their mainstream message was that they were advocating for white civil rights. They weren't racist and all of that. It was trying to give white people a voice.
Let me hold you there, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is a neo-Nazi organization, which is about white supremacy. It's about, the whole narrative is them and us, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell happened? Why suddenly this change of, feeling and thought and reflection that we want to go all mainstream now, and the narrative got changed?
Right. Well,
What happened?
the public narrative got changed.
Interesting.
It's like I've told people when I was doing the propaganda in the media for the NSM, you change the cover of the book, but the book's still the same. You just change the cover. And so it wasn't until I really started diving more into it that you get to the nitty gritty of what's the substance that's really there. And by that time, you just I put the blinders on. I'm like, I don't agree with the racism. I didn't agree with the anti-Semitism, but I agreed with a certain portion of it. So that's what I focused on.
Oh, and let me share this with you. I think this is not a point that this doesn't need to be discussed. I know one of the arguments that I made. I know my man Ivan mentions this as well. That what tends to happen is within our white communities, all right, white indigenous communities, especially in the case of Britain, because all of you are migrants in America. Do you remember that?
Right. Oh yeah.
Sorry guys, I can say it sitting here. You can't do nothing to me.
Oh yeah.
Sorry guys, I had to say it. It's the truth. The truth is the truth, my man. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so the natives here, they always say this, right? If the Muslim, if the Pakistanis, if the Hindus, if the Sikhs, if all these different religions and faiths and ethnicities can celebrate their ethnicities, if they can celebrate their ideologies, if they can celebrate their religion, what about us?
Right.
What about our, and let me say this, our Nordic traditions? I'm touching on something. It's the truth, isn't it? Now, from a different position of a minority, ethnic minority like myself,
right?
That logic is not illogical to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys feel about that, Jeff? Let me throw you in for a second. Let's mix it up a bit.
Well, I think anybody has the right, to be proud of their ethnicity, their heritage, and things like that. But there's a good take on this that I'd like to share, and it's a good friend of mine and another one of our associates at Beyond Barriers, one of our team members, Daryl Davis. He says this, and it's something I never thought about when I was in the movement, and it's something that I tell people that we're bringing out people all the time from that life, from that hate and all that, is if your crowning achievement in life is, and you're, when you're proud of something, like you say, well, white pride, black pride, whatever, if your crowning achievement in life is your white pride, you were born that way. Like it was not an achievement. You know, that wasn't something that you achieved. Like if I achieve something, like if I win the football game, or if I become number one at whatever it is that I'm doing, you know, and this applies to anyone, you know, that's an achievement. That's something to be proud of. If your crowning achievement is you're proud to be white, or you're proud of your ancestry or something like that, we don't determine that. None of us chose, like, this is the way we were going to be born. So that's it's an interesting concept, an interesting way to look at it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's not bad to be proud of how you were born or anything like that, but it's not like a crowning achievement. It's not something that you achieved yourself at all. It's just, you know, genetics,
Exactly.
parents, that sort of thing. So it's kind of a silly concept to dwell on that, you know. And I think it's okay if someone wants to go to a German festival, a French festival, a Pakistani festival, you know, it doesn't matter. Like that's okay. And I think there's nothing wrong with it. But when it becomes where that is your crowning achievement, or it's something that you use to hold other people down, or to oppress other people, or say, well, my race or my ethnicity is better than somebody else's, that's when it becomes a problem. When it becomes hate, or when it becomes something negative like that, then I see it as a problem.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But there is
Exactly.
something called the single identity narrative, which is a really deadly position of people from the far right, or may that be from now the far left to a certain extent. Of course, the Islamists. Okay, they pick on one thing, and the complexities of identity and belonging is something that's not really discussed. In some of the work that myself and Ivan and me and you, what we do in Me and You Education, is that we go into schools, we invite families, we do all of that stuff, in our communities. And one of the key things that we talk about, and one of the most powerful safeguarding measures for those people who could be radicalized, who could be groomed into these activities, is to give them this sense of belonging, sense of identity. Yeah, mate, you're not one thing. You are many things. Do you know what I mean? So I can, at one time, I'm an Englishman. I'm Pakistani heritage. I keep saying in America, Muslim. I'm a Muslim. That's the correct pronunciation, right? That's a Muslim. So I have that as a very baseline. But I'm many other things. I'm a dad. I'm a kid from the street. I'm a bit of a lunatic. No, I'm not a lunatic. Hey, come on. You're making me say stuff like this. Stop it. Anyway,
You're
so
the good crazy.
It's crazy. But anyway, that's very crazy. And thank you, Jeff. And I agree with you on that point, that if that's the only thing, and that makes you really vulnerable. And the thing, but I want to put it to you, Acacia, that when you got into this and you said, look, I got into it, they got rid of the swastika.
Yep.
So what was this? Was this like neo-Nazi light?
Kind of, yeah.
Like Bud Light. I'm not promoting them. I don't drink. But I'm just like, was it this
the light version?
Was this light version? What was going on? Like you said, the book said something else, but the cover was saying something else. Why were you playing this game? Were you getting negative reactions or something, or did you want it to be accepted in mainstream society?
A lot of what it was, and Jeff can go into this more, like they had dropped the swastika to go more mainstream, because that obviously was a hindrance, because it says it right out there, hello. But when I had originally met with people from the NSM, it goes to prove that any narrative, the movement, any kind of movement, call it whatever, can use any narrative as a recruitment tool. Because they didn't hound on people of other races and how they're evil or anti-Semitism or anything like that. It was, here, white people need a voice. So this is what we're going to hound on, and this is what we're going to use to crack that door open. And then before you realize it, I was headfirst down the rabbit hole. But I compartmentalized it for me personally. And I think there's other people, that do this within the movement. Kind of compartmentalize. I can't talk today. Compartmentalize and pick and choose what they agree with. Whether it's illegal immigration, the NSM used to harp on that really big, and people might not agree with some of the other stuff, but they agreed with, what they were standing for as far as illegal immigration. And so it's very multifaceted. it's not, a lot of people think it's just very cut and dry. And a lot of times it really isn't. There's a lot of other nuances involved with it.
And that's,
So
I think,
yeah.
I think what you've just said there is very crucial as well, because that is the problem. We do this a lot. What we tend to do is that we say, oh, this is a homogenous group of people, right? They believe in, they're an ideology of the Nazis. So that means they hate all black people, all Asians. They have this bloody problem, blah, blah, blah. This is box standard woman, child, man, all of them. But
Right.
Ivan, you know what Acacia is saying? Does that resonate with you? That a lot of people who are part of these organizations, maybe they're just looking for companionship, friendship, and sadly, just like clickbait, if I may use that
Right.
term, that it's the same process of clickbait online. Like they're shown a certain, face, and then it's like, oh, free dive, I'm dying, whatever it is. I know it's not. I know that's not the experience. I'm making it a bit more dramatic than it is. Would you agree? Would you concur with that, Ivan, my man?
Yeah, I was just going to add a comment actually on something Acacia mentioned earlier about she was drawn because it wasn't displaying the sticker. And if I remember rightly, Jeff, wasn't that your idea to replace the Ordell rune, if I remember rightly?
Yes. So in 2016, we did publicly change the swastika to the Odo rune, and that was to try to mainstream the organization. And just to expound a little bit about or expand a little bit on what Acacia was saying is that to the outward public after 2016, the organization was trying to mainstream and trying to and we talk about, like, she's saying, like, well, it wasn't outwardly projected, the anti-Semitism and the hate and all this sort of thing. Those things were there. Those were still there. That was in the original book. It was still there. So what we tried to do basically, and I might have said this the last time I was on the program, but just to reiterate it, is basically we were trying to put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. You can't dress up the Nazi Party as a white civil rights organization. But this was part of the process as I was de-radicalizing during this time and didn't realize it. This was going on during that period of time. But the hate is definitely there in these organizations. But the way we projected it to the public is that this was hitting hot button issues that concerned a lot of the citizens of the country. And that was, as you said, Imran, like, that was the clickbait. That was to get them in the door. So there was people that were coming in like Acacia that were not already racist, that were not already anti-Semitic. And some people didn't even have any of those ideas, but they might have come to the NSM for the stance on illegal immigration or the stance on various different aspects. So the organization was very good at that and projecting that outwardly. There was rules in place for public speaking, like you were not everybody always did it, but you were not supposed to swear. You were not supposed to use racial epithets because we thought it would make the organization look bad. But the moment those cameras were off and the microphones were off, the hate was spewed behind closed doors. But to the public eye, it was a little different.
So Jeff, you must have had very good media training, right? So and bringing in Acacia again in here, the whole idea of the online propaganda, the online labeling and usage of terminology and words and etc. that you were using. All right, you must have really thought about this. I was reading an article, I think so, Acacia, by yourself. I believe it's on Beyond Barriers, some of the articles that you've written, which is phenomenal. I've got to say, it's an amazing resource. Beyond Barriers is, and I've seen a number of videos on there by individuals who have come out of these extreme, not only from the the nationalist nationalist party, socialist party, but other organizations as well. Which I think is brilliant, to see people who have come from hate towards love, which is really, really powerful. So credit to both of you. All right, and especially to yourself, Jeff, mate. I know this particular project. All right, was very, very dear to you. All right, and to make a decision like that, to put yourself right in the firing line, and this time without a gun in your hand, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? You know, usually you're standing on the other side with, I don't know, about 10 different guns pointing at someone else, mate. No, but it's true, isn't it? With the training and stuff like that. So it was essential. So, you know, it's a different ball game. But Acacia, being a person who understands, you know, the whole online world, gets it how it is, right? Didn't you feel, even though you didn't come from a hateful background, right, that this deception is not good for my mental health?
That's where the whole compartmentalizing comes in, because, you know, and honestly, it wasn't until after I left that I really started processing that, the fact that whether I agreed with the entire message or not, that is what I was promoting, was the whole message. And that's, and it did. I mean, there was a lot of, to be honest, there was a lot of conflict back and forth. And I would just, like I said, I would compartmentalize. And honestly, it was the violence that made it so I couldn't put it behind the blinders anymore.
Yeah. And God bless you for that. And I think to get out of that particular environment, because see, that's saying something to me. That's saying that you come from a very different type of background. If I'm allowed to touch on that, if that's okay, and especially for the viewers who are watching now and later on as well, hopefully, all right, it will give us a more of a holistic understanding of yourself. Understand? So you're young, you know, as a young woman, as a young girl. So your background is what, if you don't mind me asking?
I am actually a preacher's daughter. My dad was a preacher. And so I grew up going to church, you know, every Sunday, Wednesday, anytime the doors were open, I was there.
You just said preacher. When you talk about preacher, when you say preacher in America, the only image I have is, oh my Lord, oh God, have mercy upon the congregation. You know, that's all I can hear. I'm sure
it wasn't quite that enthusiastic. It was a little bit more. It was closer to, I would say, Baptist.
Was it like,
he was a preacher to
hallelujah,
the Christ,
yeah, hallelujah. Was it like that?
A little bit more tamed down,
okay.
But yes, you have a lot more energy. Although some people did.
I'm just thinking, you know what I mean? Me going into America, this is gonna be crazy.
Right?
I only joke.
Oh no, you're good. But yeah, so I mean, I grew up in a very conservative Christian home. I was pretty sheltered for the most part, I would say. To be honest, I didn't even know what anti-Semitism was until I got involved in the movement. And after that point, who do you ask? Because you ask somebody that's in the movement and they're going to look at you like you're crazy or whatever. I actually eventually wound up asking Jeff, who laughed in my face and thought I was kidding. But so just to give you an idea of like literally how sheltered I was, like so when I started finally realizing what was going on, by that time, like I said, I was pretty much way over my head.
Did your radicalization, or at least the conversation that you have, because when you go into this, of course, it's online. Was it done online, or was it slightly different?
Online and in person. Yep.
All right. So you started in conversation first, because the reason I'm asking you is the young people that we work with right at this moment, and one of the key things within our projects that we work on around preventing, etc. Okay. One of the key things that we look at is the vulnerabilities of the individuals.
Yep.
Because it's anyone.
Absolutely anybody.
Whoever gets stuck in the web, as they say.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's really, really scary, because it could be an adult, it could be a person of a certain, understanding, it could be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if it's a young child, doesn't really matter. All right.
Yep.
All it matters is if we can get them on and get what we want from them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So Jeff, now looking from the other side, you've had Acacia. You got someone who is the potential, individual that you could get on. Tell me the mindset of the individual who radicalizes.
Into the movement, the people that are going into it.
No. I'm talking about the people who bring people in.
Oh, the recruiters for the movement. Yeah, I mean, there was people from all different kind of backgrounds, and we were talking, or guys were talking a little bit about the media department in the NSM. The person that was running it before Acacia was somebody that wrote professional press releases. They had done that sort of thing. That had worked for actual media, so we had people that had these different skill sets. So the recruiters, and just as Acacia was saying as well, I mean, the recruiters were bringing in people from all different backgrounds. Originally, when I joined back in, I'd been in 27 years total. When I joined back in the 90s, the type that the type of individual that was around back then was mostly blue collar, poor, working class people. By the time that I had left the organization, there's different nuances and different things that had happened over the years. But one thing that I noticed was, excuse me,
it's okay.
One thing that I had noticed was going forward is that a lot of people from the middle class, that people that we were not able to recruit back in the 90s, were coming into the organization due to some of the different approaches that we were taking and the illegal immigration stances. So people from like the rich or like your elites, those type of people had no interest typically in these extreme movements. But your working class to middle class people and the poor, a lot of them are searching for something, whether it's in some cases, like you had said, friendship or companionship. That's a case with some people. For some people, it's one issue. It might be the illegal immigration thing. We had people that had come in and said, I never thought I would join the Nazi party in a million years, but you guys are the only ones that are patrolling the borders. You're the only ones that are talking, really
resonating with the issues that I believe to be important.
Yes. Yep. So it could be a one issue, like Acacia mentioned, that it could be just one issue.
Concerns again.
It does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Go for it, Jeff.
No, I was just saying it could be that one issue. It could be many issues. There's all different reasons that people join, and just about anybody could be susceptible to this. So a lot of times when we talk to the public and we educate people on these things, and we're talking about, excuse me, and we're talking about these different things, a lot of times when families or people are listening, that, oh, well, my kid will never fall into this, or my, brother or sister or family member would never fall into this. Don't be so sure is our message to them, because we were able to recruit. I was so, and I don't know if this is the best term for it, but I was so confident about my ability to recruit people in this, that I would tell people in the organization and tell people that I knew, I can recruit anyone if they have an open mind, that if they're coming to the organization and they'll say, yeah, I'll read your materials or I'll look into it. If they said that, I said, no matter what, I can recruit that person. That's how confident I was about it.
And rightly so, because I think if something which is tried and tested, I know within the Islamist movements, the likes of ISIS and organizations like that, they have a similar setup. And sadly, they have a similar type of mindset. And it is a very, it's like this, isn't it? If you are preying on human beings, and a human being is a very complex creature, all right? The psychology of the mind, how the psychology of human being, how it works, the inner goings and inner workings. If one understands how to manipulate that, right, and how to use emotion, feeling, grievances to attract and groom people in, all right, that's very empowering. That's very powerful. You have control over men. You have control over women. Do you understand? And it's very, and it's a very, this sense of arrogance and sense of narcissism. This essence of narcissism is developed in the human being, where you are ready to, you don't really care. You have a particular goal and you want to achieve that particular goal. Now, looking at that, I know it can be a dark and murky world. There's no doubt about that. But you're normal human beings. Like Acacia has said, I came from a normal background.
Oh, yeah.
A vulnerable, normal lifestyle. Okay, preacher's daughter, religious, very sheltered, and etc. But that resonates with so many communities. Like if you asked a young Asian lad or an Asian lass, they'll say something similar.
Mm-hmm.
If you spoke to someone who was from, maybe from somewhere from Africa, right, who are very religious background, very conservative per se, right, they have a very similar type of experience.
Right.
In a way, why, I can't believe I'm saying this, is that anyone, doesn't matter what ethnicity and background they are from, are susceptible and vulnerable to this.
Yep.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be like our background comes from the far right. It doesn't have to be the far right. It can, as you said, it could be a religion. It could be a cult. It's very extremely cult-like. And when I was involved in it, when people would say that, I would say, no, it's not. But when you process this stuff, when you get out, it is very cult-like, and anyone can be groomed. So it's not the message. When we talk about this stuff, it's not just the far right that is susceptible to this type of thinking or this way of thinking. It could be applied to many different things. So it's affecting people of all different races, ethnicities, backgrounds. And it's just a matter of if you're susceptible to that sort of thing or not. And this is kind of interesting too. And this is something that was said to me when I first had gotten out. I said, I can't believe I was so close-minded that I believed all this stuff for so long. And I was angry with myself for it. And the person had said, they said, no, I think you're misunderstanding it, Jeff. It was because you were open-minded that you were able to, that you were searching for this type of thing. And at first I didn't understand it. I was like, well, what are you open-minded? How does that work? But the process, that searching for something that society is saying is wrong or isn't right, and thinking you found it, and then being part of that, is the same process that we can use to de-radicalize people and reach them, because they were at one time open-minded enough to listen to something, even though it's a horrible ideology and something you shouldn't get involved in. It was that searching idea that got you there. It's that same concept, that exact same concept that can reach and pull that person back out, because they're going to be open. If you can tap into that and they can be open-minded enough to listen to what you're saying, and what we do now, what you guys do, bringing people back out of that type of thinking, is the same exact concept. It's like reverse osmosis.
It truly is. And Acacia, when your de-radicalization took place, right? So what was that process? Because I know about Jeff, and in fact, that's all. Jeff, my man, is documented. We saw, of course, you mentioned earlier as well, towards that in our other podcast that we had done in October last year, that you did mention that, look, I was thinking and I was reflecting. I was, I've come across a number of other people as well, whose conversation I had. And of course, big up to Adia Khan, you know what I mean? And who had officially taken that step and had a conversation with you, right? Which had a massive part to play. But Acacia, who was that person, you would say, or situation or circumstances, and how
Well, honestly, it's a lot, but like I had mentioned earlier, like the violence was a key part in me actually making that final choice to leave. Christchurch honestly was a big part of that, because up until then, and I know Jeff's mentioned this before when he's spoken, how you don't justify it, but you're like, well, it wasn't anybody that was a part of the group that I was a part of. And I had been seeing it get worse. And then when that happened, I couldn't put the blinders on anymore, and I couldn't ignore it. It still took a couple of months because I was so intertwined within that organization, beyond just the media stuff, but some of the actual organization, corporate stuff. So it took me a little bit longer. But then when Jeff left, I realized that if he, after 27 years of being in it and 25 years of being the leader of that organization, could have the guts to be like, you know what, I'm done. This isn't right. I'm making the choice and going. Then what excuse did I have? There was none.
There was none.
And I honestly, I never intended on going public. When I was in the movement, I was behind the scenes. I did the media stuff. I did the computer stuff and all of that. So it's like, my face wasn't up front and center. So I could have just kind of gone away and nobody would have known the wiser.
And yeah.
But
But you didn't.
actually,
But
no, I
but you
didn't. I
didn't.
did for a couple of months.
Right.
Because I got out in June of 2019, and I didn't really go like public until I think it was 2020. But I was asked in the fall of 2019 if I'd be willing to tell my story and to go public. And that kind of started that journey for me, because it was at that point that I had to really realize that you got to stop compartmentalizing. If you're going to deal with anything, you have to face what really was. And that's, like I was saying earlier, that with being the propagandist and with doing the media and stuff, I was spreading an entire message that people were using to justify and kill other human beings and take lives. And that's something that I still deal with today. But, and like you read in my bio, that's another reason why, like, I take the skills that I have to help and to help spread a positive message of unity instead of dividing people and bringing people together. And, so, yeah, I mean, I would say, like, the catalyst was, the final straw was Christchurch. And then, like I said, Jeff coming out and others coming out and being like, I can't make excuses anymore. So
thank you. No, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And I know that is a very difficult way of expression, because you just had to face the reality.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, like you said, with Christchurch that had occurred, I wanted to bring in, which is inevitable, it was going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The previous reign of the Don.
Right.
Right. Which didn't help with all of the situation that has occurred, where we are today, even though we've had, new president elected, we've had, number of, not number, but I don't know how many hundreds, if not thousands of conversations around what's been happening in the last 4 years, right? How do you feel about, and this is to Jeff first, how do you feel about America today?
Oh, that's a big question. America, unfortunately, right now is probably more divided than I've ever seen it in my entire life. It's really unfortunate. There's a lot of distrust of the media, of even our electoral system now. A lot of people are. We all saw what happened on January 6th when the rioters, went into the nation's capital. That's something that I think the world, even us here in America, had a real hard time watching. That our democracy is that fragile that something like that could take place in this country. So you have a lot of division right now, and I think it's more important than just about anything right now that the country heals, that both sides come together. I monitor the chatter and different things like that online on Twitter and in different places, and you have Republicans and Democrats, going at each other, and a lot of talk about retribution, and we need to go after this person and that person. A lot of this stuff, because of the divisions, you're having where the extremist narratives are becoming more mainstream than they should, where people are getting more radical on one side or the other.
Yeah, but Jeff, let me just throw this in. In fact, the views and ideas of the extreme, whichever extreme they may be, it's been happening it's been happening much longer than that. Even the gentleman who's sitting now, right, he's not entirely free from this. We know this, right? We are the world looking at America, because America holds a very prominent, important position in the world that we live in, right? And the person who sits in the most powerful country in the world, may that be us in Britain, or may that be any person maybe in the most remote parts of Sahara, or maybe some deserts, etc., or whatever it may be, we are worried. We think, we reflect. But what the gentleman previous, of course, the reign of the dawn, when that happened, right, it literally dragged, the views and ideas of extremity right center middle, because the man himself sadly is that. Now, of course, we're not here to discuss the man himself. We are here to discuss what he's left behind. And weirdly, what you guys are doing, it's really weird, this is probably what's needed for the nation now. Would you agree?
Yeah, unfortunate. I mean, it's so surreal in a lot of ways. And we're careful when we speak out about this stuff too, because here we were former extremists. We were the dividers. We were the people that were predicting this stuff years ago and saying it was going to happen and egging it on and making the divisions, trying to develop those divisions and force those divisions and hope that they would come. These are like far right fantasies come true with some of this stuff that's happened. So now, having been in that world and having those experiences, to go back, to process that stuff, and then to go back to the public and say, hey guys, this isn't good. Democrats, Republicans, you guys shouldn't be talking about retribution against each other. You should be talking about healing. You should be bringing it back to the middle. For us to say that, there's a lot of people don't want to hear it. And they especially don't want to hear it from us, because we were the dividers. But I think, and in some small way, maybe they should listen because we have that experience. We were those people. We know where that path leads, and it's not good. It's not good for the country. It's not good for anybody. So I feel like in a lot of ways we're sounding the alarms, and we just hope people listen. It's so incredibly important for me to be understood that we are not picking sides. We're not saying, the former president was all right or all wrong, and it's not one person's fault, but this is a societal problem.
Jeff, my man.
Yeah.
The problem you have is the problem we have the same problem. The problem is when you have a two-party democracy, this is exactly the problem you get. It's a two-party democracy, which is the weakest type of democracy. I'm going to be blunt here, right? When we talk about politics, when we talk about discussion around this, one of the biggest problems that America, as well as Britain and a few other nations in this world have, as a diverse society community, which represents many views, many ideas, many concepts from one side of the prism to the other side of the prism, that's what we signed up for. Let's get that straight. That's what democracy is about. Democracy is not about all nice people. Oh, let's get on. What's happening, my man? It's not that. It is about different ideas, different views, but common values which unite the nation, isn't it?
Yes.
So, because when I look at the likes of America, when I look at the history of America, yeah, what's happening now is, with any particular group of people, oh, Trump's here, and because of him, this divide occurred. And no. What he simply done is he literally pulled the underbelly up. Come on, man, let's get it real. Right? Now, if he's done that, that means the trouble with being there for not 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. We're talking about hundreds of years, sadly. And to deal with that, it demands a national effort. Come on. I'm not going to give you... guys, come on. I'm just giving a sermon here. Give me something. Give me something. Because look, I'm making... why am I saying like this? The thing is, guys, I get it. I understand this idea. Yeah, okay, fine. Trump came, blah, blah, blah. Now we got a new lad, yeah. He's gonna do the business. No, he's not. He's just in the bloody face of the same system.
Yeah, believe me, I'm not trying to sugarcoat the situation. I mean, it is incredibly divisive right now, and it's something that the commonalities, as you said, the commonalities are where we got to come together. Republicans and Democrats, the two-party system, obviously it's not perfect. Obviously there's flaws in it, and there's a lot of things. Both parties have good ideas and both parties have bad ideas. This is just human nature. So we have to find those things that unite us as a nation. And I've said this, jokingly or whatever, but sometimes, you wonder, like, well, if aliens came and landed tomorrow, and I mean, like, from outer space, if they came and landed tomorrow, this country would come together in a heartbeat if they had to, if we were being attacked from outside or something like that. And you don't want something. I don't want nothing bad to happen or anything like that. But I'm just.
No, I think what you said there, Jeff, my man, sorry to cut you off, lad, is that if they came from outside. Right, Independence Day probably, but whatever.
Yes.
But whatever. But the thing is, even then, see, I have my doubt. I have my doubt because if your values and ideas and concept are based upon division, them and us, there will be people who will create alliances with the aliens. I'm talking external, extraterrestrial, and there will be those who will show guns at them. Because we are divided as a people. It's a genuine opportunity to reflect, I think, as a people, because we're not, look at this. You can go into maybe a country in Africa somewhere, a country in the Far East somewhere, all right, or countries within the other parts of the world. They're homogeneous communities. They are predominantly ethnically very similar. Religiously, they might have one or two religions or faiths. Right now, maybe 3 or 4 if you come from a particular part of the subcontinent, for example. You might have Sikhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. Now we're talking about America. America is the hot pot of everything.
Yep.
Black, white, every shade in between, every religion, every ideology, every concept, every view, men, women, and everything in between. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
So it demands a different type. It demands a different type of engagement, different type of conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we have a really good opportunity. And as the American people have this opportunity. You have something good, And I really mean this. You really have something good, man. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. You genuinely have something good. But the thing is how the hell you deal with that. Do you know what I mean?
That's the difficult part, yeah.
That's the difficult bit. But you have to find, and Ivan, God bless him, my man, I want you to tell me something around the commonalities, because this man done that. He tried, the people he hated, he find the commonality with them.
Exactly.
Because I'm one of the guys that he hated, my man Ivan. Share with me what happened. Maybe there's a solution in it.
Say again.
No. What I'm saying is when you found commonality with the other, right? Which in this case was someone like me, as a Muslim.
Yeah, it was.
Then change started to happen.
I think it was just being able. Yeah.
Is you all right?
Oh no.
Okay, I think she's gone off again.
It cut out.
I didn't hear the
It's
question.
okay. We'll get. Is that you, Ivan? Say something.
Can you hear me or not?
We can, yeah.
Hello?
We can hear you.
You can hear me, yeah?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Sweetie, I don't know what's going on, thingy. I reckon it's the teenagers on the PlayStation came and made the internet. I think when you find that commonality with somebody, that commonality is the common ground. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was me meeting my enemy, being able to find out that some of the beliefs and worries I had, they shared. And I think it was that started that thinking over of maybe they're not as bad, so let's have some more talks. And then slowly you become friends, and that friendship becomes stronger than most of your friends you've ever had, because it's somebody different, do you know what I mean? And there's something really powerful about that friendship you make with, like, the friendships I made with Keneal and Manwar, yourself, Imran, Irfan. It's a different kind of connection, shared understanding, a shared friendship. Where sometimes some of your friends are in it for what they can get or not, but it's a different kind of connection.
Thank you, Ivan. And I think that's crucial. And I think that is something when you guys talk about maybe the mainstream American society or general societies could learn from your experience. I can see that. This is the experience they can learn from. Finding the common aspects and elements in the people that you saw as your enemy. Acacia, I want to bring this in because I know there's a fairly high percentage of the female vote that Trump got. And even in the end, right, it's not that he had lost votes. He gained votes. He lost with a very small margin. Right? So as a perspective of a young American woman, what are your thoughts on what's happening and what happened in the 4 years of Mr. Trump's presidency?
As far as like the women are concerned, especially the last couple of years, we saw an uptake in women joining the movement, or those that would have been more in the middle conservative, because there was such polarization, were being forced one way or another. And it's just, it's very interesting because, like I said, you know, typically the women that were involved either there would be some that were involved, like myself, that in and of themselves, but typically a lot of what you would see would be because they were supporting their husband or a significant other, and stuff like that. Whereas in the last couple of years, you saw, you know, women doing it of their own volition and stuff like that. And
do you think that was the Trump effect?
I don't really think that it was necessarily Trump per se. I think it was the polarization becoming so extreme in the US in general that if you were considered either a Trump supporter or just a conservative, then all of a sudden you were a part of the far right. And so exactly, it's painting everybody with a broad brush. You know, if you're conservative, you're a Trump supporter, which isn't always the case either. And if you're Democrat, well, then you're a communist. And that's not the case either. It's just, it's because of the polarization and the extremes that you were finding a lot of it, I believe.
Yeah, and I think within, and I chose to, you know, mention about the female. I'm not saying that you represent all, or you represent all the female individuals in the system.
Right.
But the reason I want to bring that on, because as men, all right, we can be very hard-headed about this sort of stuff. I said it, and I'm going to stick with it. I don't care if it kills me. Women are very different. Women have a much more nurturing, understanding, you know, element to them, right? Which sometimes they say, you know, maybe we need the you know, the hug of Mother Earth, as they say, right? To heal us in these times of immense conflict and pain. What would you say, Acacia? Would that be true? Is that something that we can, or do you think even the female, you know, population of America is so hardened that they're not ready to at least shake hands with the other?
See, and that's a difficult one because us women, yes, are definitely more of the emotional type, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing sometimes. But
I'm not reacting on that one.
No. I'm a little outnumbered here, but that's okay.
No. What I'm saying is,
I know.
I stand beside you, but I'm not gonna react on it because, yeah, mate. You know what I'm saying?
Right? Hey, I'll be honest. But the thing is the fact that it is so polarized, and it's such an us versus them on both sides of the aisle that I think it's going to take a lot more than just, your typical male and female, more of the nurturing mother type to bring it together, because it's going to take a lot on both sides, really. And it's like what we're doing right now, having a conversation, looking at things and being brutally honest about our own faults and not just the faults of the other. And then finding, okay, what can we build on? What can we come together and agree on? Okay, you don't like the color green. I don't like the color green. It's very simple, and it might seem really dumb, but it's one thing you got in common.
You got a problem with the color green?
No, I actually really like the color green, but it was something simple to choose.
You just say I hate the color green.
Right? I know. That's exactly what's going on.
Hey,
that's exactly what's going on now.
You want to step outside? See how ridiculous is that? See how ridiculous.
Oh yeah. And that, I mean, essentially, when you boil it all down, that's kind of what it is. And when you throw labels on people, it makes it that much worse. And
I agree. Thank you, Acacia. And you've made it very, very clear. And hopefully our listeners as well will understand that very clear, narrative. As me and you. Now, what we believe as an organization, which I believe is very similar to what your views and ideas are as well, that there's no doubt there are differences.
Oh, yeah.
There are genuine differences, no doubt. There's ethnic differences, there are cultural differences, there are dietary differences, there are religious differences. There are differences. There's no doubt about that. Right? We acknowledge that as an organization as well. Now, because I'm not ready to quash someone's views and ideas just for the fun of it. No, you got to think like me. No, mate, I don't want you to think like me. I want you to challenge my thinking.
Exactly.
Right? But respect what I'm trying to say. Right? And let's play around with that. Let me challenge yours. So as an organization, we strongly believe that it's about not them and us. So I'm on this side of the border, you're on that side of the border. You know what? The only solution is guns on each other. No. It's more about, you know what? Tell me what you think.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think that's really powerful. Right? Mm-hmm. So we're not saying, no, everyone becomes the same. That's bloody boring.
Well, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And it's more about, hey, yeah, come on. Let's have a chat. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a discussion. Let's see where we get to the bottom of, and
exactly.
you might come out with something really good. And I think it's really powerful.
Absolutely.
Guys, I know this. We've been talking for just over an hour now. All right. And I did say to you, at any time you feel, oh my God, we've had enough. These guys are crazy and these are loonies. You know what? You can switch off anytime. I can see you've not switched off. But what I'm going to do now is, in our last number of minutes, right, I'm going to ask both of yourself, Ivan, yourself as well, to give something you feel that will resonate on the basis of unity, understanding. We are talking about an era after the reign of the great Don. I've got to be very careful in saying that. The Donna is doing it. After that, we've come, of course, the coming of Joe Biden in America. Of course, we have talked and discussed about the different nuances on the basis of politics, right? We've discussed that. But most importantly, we discussed about your journeys. Very powerful journeys, I think. Very interesting journeys, right? And within your lives, in fact, you represent a lot of people that we work with, okay? People who are on the verge of maybe slipping, on the verge of people who have already slipped into particular organizations, right? But it's ultimately understanding they are a human, they are vulnerable, and they need that support and help. So I'm going to come to ladies first, Acacia, to yourself, to give us your maybe final thoughts and reflection, maybe a message that you want to give out to the masses.
I would say my biggest thing is that, like, we are very, as a society, quick to judge others that will have opposing viewpoints. And there is such a thing as agreeing to disagree. And that's okay. And it's okay to have opposing viewpoints. It's okay to, believe different things. But when we allow that to interfere with seeing another human being as valuable and as another human being, another life there in front of us, that's when it becomes an issue. And we need to start concentrating on bringing each other together. And, it's okay to celebrate differences. A lot of people are like, oh, well, we don't have differences. Yes, there are differences between everybody of every race, every ethnicity, every religion. There's always going to be differences because we're all each our own human being, but we're always growing.
And
it's better to grow together.
They say the beautiful tapestry of humanity.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why, there's a verse in the Quran which says, we have made you from one man and one woman, but made you into nations so that you may know each other. Right.
Yep.
Meaning what? That you don't hate each other, don't bully each other, don't belittle each other, but to know each other. So differences there is a good thing, not a bad thing. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted.
No, you're good. You're good.
To support, the message that you were giving. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
God bless you for that. Jeff, my man.
Yes. The commonalities, finding the commonalities, and I may have used this reference before, but it's like someone had put it to me very eloquently, and I really enjoyed it. It was a field of flowers, and if it's all the exact same flowers in that field, how boring is that? If we're all exactly the same. So I think we should celebrate our differences, and I think having differences of opinions is good. It's challenging. It would be so boring if we were all exactly the same, but finding those commonalities, what unites us, and looking at one another as human beings, that humanity is so incredibly important. And when, especially when these things get violent, a lot of people, I think they're caught up in this moment. I understand it. I've been around violence. I've been around a lot of violence, unfortunately, in my past. And I know how quick and how easy it is for people to get caught up in that. But you need to stop and think, even if it's just for a millisecond, just for an absolute second, to think that person that you're hitting or that you're fighting or shooting at or whatever it is, that person that you're involved in that violence, they have a mother. They might have children.
Even tweeting, even sending a message, even sending a poll. Because we talk about it offline, but the online world is even more crazier. Go for it, my man.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that humanity and knowing that person has somebody, you're causing a chain reaction of damage that's not just to that person, but to their mother, to their grandmother, to their children, to their grandchildren. And these trauma travels through generations sometimes. This is something I learned after leaving the movement, that trauma can be passed on generationally. So this could be, you could be damaging things so far into the future that you're not even really truly quite aware of. So these are the things that we need to think about as a society, as humanity, despite those differences, to not resolve things with violence, to resolve things with dialogue through finding the commonalities and conversations just like we're having here today. And that's why the work that you guys are doing is so incredibly important. Absolutely. We love you for it. It's so important. And that's why we do what we do, because it would have been so much easier to walk away from the movement and just go into business or go into something else and not do this type of thing and not revisit bad memories and bad things from the past. But we do this because we care, because we want to give back. We want to repair some of the damage that we've done through our own pasts and give back and be part of that humanity and share our stories and our experiences with others so they don't make those same mistakes. You don't want to waste 27 years of your life like I did in something like this. You want to be able to if we can stop that, even if it's just one person, and we've helped many more than that, and I know you guys have as well, but every person we touch, every life we touch, that's meaningful. And if we can get back to that and touch humanity as a whole, incredible things can happen.
Oh my God, that's it. Both of you, right, for president next year, 4 years time. Sorry, 4 years time. 4 years time. I know you're a slightly different type of democracy. I mean, come on, statements like that, big up, mate. You know what I'm saying? This is the stuff. Now, but the thing is, sometimes that becomes rhetoric. You know, in the political world, that's the biggest issue that politicians have, isn't it? It's all this and all real action, right? And I think you guys are putting your actions before your words, which is really cool. And I really mean this. And I think I would encourage, people to go to the website, beyondbarriersusa.org. There are different, videos on there. There's articles on there. You'll find out about genuine people's experiences being in organizations, very extreme organizations, which in itself is very fascinating for a lot of human beings, a lot of individuals, right? How the hell that can be and this and that, whatever. But ultimately, it's about how they come out, which is in fact, it's more powerful. It's more powerful to let go of everything that you ever knew. Your comfort zone, your friends, your family, people that you love. People forget that. It is a family. And I think when that went, and then they're leaving all of that, they're coming to the world, and the world, what do they see? They see the images, they see the names, they see it's not on the face. Like you don't have tattoos, both of you. Maybe in different parts of the world, but I'm saying in front of you, which is exposing us. I have seen characters, individuals, and I work with some of them. Literally, swastika, bang, straight there. It's like, what? You know what I mean? Crazy, right. But it is. That's what they are. Later on in life, all right, it becomes very complicated and difficult for them. There's no doubt about that. But until they're in a particular setup, that's how life, in fact, tends to work for them, which is fine, but it's really difficult later on when they come into mainstream society. And I agree with both of you. I think both of your word statements are resonating, powerful, commonality, finding the common aspect and element within human beings and working as human beings. I'm going to give my final words to the big G, my man, Ivan, my man. Come on, my man. Come on, my man. Your word to you. Final words, however you feel. Pleasing.
Well, a couple of things, I guess. To what I said at the start of the podcast, if you're struggling, if you've got mental health issues, or reach out, there is help out there. And secondly, just to add to what both guests have said, as well as talking, listening is very important as well. It's just not listening to reply. You want to be respectful enough to listen, to try to understand that perspective journey, because listening is probably more important than the actual dialogue. So that's me done. Just loads of wisdom.
Thank you, Alvin, my man. Guys, thank you very, very much for listening. Just want to say from the bottom of my heart, Jeff, Acacia, big up to you. And I pray to the Lord that there are much more beautiful, better days that are going to come up under this presidency, hopefully, right? Not people are going to be hiding and being scared for whatever reason. Do you understand? Hopefully, in times of turmoil and difficulty, you always find an opportunity to create change, but for the positive, right? And I believe that's where we are with America at the moment in time, which impacts the world generally. Big up to you guys. Thank you very much for all to our listeners. Till next time, guys. Goodbye, good night, and hope to see you very, very soon on Creating the Conversation podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.